And now it's time for the devotion of the day today. This is definitely the most important part of the show. If you are just tuning in, I promise you umeweza kufika kwa wakati unaofaa. My name is Beatrice Watare, and we're about to now do the devotion of the day today. Remember, the topic of the day ambao tumekuwa tukizungumzia is on the importance of checking our motives, okay? Why is it important for us to make sure that we know why we do what we do? Because God is not as concerned about what we do as he is concerned about why we do what we do. And that is why today I figured, since it's the beginning of the new year, why not make sure that we have put that right, okay? And the verse of the day today comes from the book of Proverbs 16:2, and it says, all the ways of a man are clean and innocent in his own eyes, and he may see nothing wrong with his actions, but the Lord weighs and examines the motives and the intents of the heart and knows the truth. This is a very, very powerful verse. It says, all the ways of a man are clean and innocent in his own eyes. That's the very first thing, to know that we can actually be deceived by thinking that things are okay and everything, we're just doing it for the right reasons. But we need to be careful, and we ought to ask God, God, help me, okay, so that my motives will be right. And I just want to tell you about this song. I think by Theophilas. I'm not sure who it is by, but just check pale YouTube, uangalie song inaitwa Lord Check My Motives, Help Me to Die More and More. It's a very beautiful song that will help you to really look within yourself. So it's all the ways of man are clean and innocent in his own eyes, and he may see nothing wrong with his actions. Nothing wrong completely. But the Lord weighs and examines the motives and the intents of the heart and knows the truth. So I think the first thing that we need to admit and come to terms with is that even when to others it may not look like the way it truly is, even when to others people may think you're actually doing the right thing because you love the Lord, even when to others it may look like, okay, wait, I am giving to the church, I am maybe even getting born again, going up on mbele kusema kwamba umeokoka, it may be that to other people, but then God definitely knows your motives. God knows your heart because he created you. He's aware of why you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. And I think a great verse we can look at on the issue, even on the topic of the day that we're having today, is when we are asking God for blessings, okay? There are so many times that we tell God, I want this, I want that, I want more money, maybe I want more followers, I want this, I want that, and we ask God for these things. But then the book of James 4:3 thereabout, it says, you have not because you ask not. That's the first bit of it, that you have not because you ask not. And sometimes you can covet other people's things, you can desire other people's things, but you've not even stopped to ask God for it. But then the most important bit of this particular verse is where it tells us that even when you ask amiss. Even when you ask God for the blessings, you ask amiss, okay? And the meaning of asking amiss is that you're asking so that you can fulfill your own desires, but not to help others. You know, sometimes you're asking God for money, but that will that translate to you giving more to charity? Will that translate to you helping your family? Will that translate to you making sure that you're being there for the people that need it? Will that translate to anyone who tells you, I just need 1,000 shillings, there's this thing I need to do, please help me? Are you going to assist them if God blesses you with whatever it is you want him to bless you with? If you're saying, God, I want an increase in my salary, will that translate to you making sure that even the tithe is going to go up? Because we are asking because of our own selfish desires, rather than asking ourselves, how will this be used for the benefit of the kingdom? If this is what I want from God, how will this translate to something being done for the kingdom of God? Because there's a huge difference between selfishness and maybe whatever service you want to give. There's a difference between service and selfishness. Service means that even when you're asking God, it's because you want it to translate to helping others. But selfishness, you're just thinking of your own self. Maybe that promotion that you wanted, is it because you wanted to take the company to the next place? And if at all you don't get that promotion, does it mean you're also going to help the one who got it and tell them the ideas that you had so that you will still achieve, even if you're not the one in that place? That's something to think about, you know. And you know, Philippians 2:3-4, it reminds us, don't do anything out of selfish ambition, but to value others above yourself. You know how strong this statement is, that you need to put other people ahead of yourself. And this doesn't mean that you're not to love yourself and that you're supposed to just put yourself down every time. No. But we have to operate from a place of, I'm not doing anything from selfish ambition. I'm not doing this so that I can gain for myself. I'm not doing this so that I can benefit my own self. But I'm thinking of the other person and thinking of how I can improve their life and make them better. And I want us to ask ourselves these very critical questions. And the first one is, why do you get born again? Why did you go forward and tell God that I want to be born again? Why did you tell God that I want you in my life? Is it because you saw that the people who are born again have riches? Is it because you realized that maybe a neighbor ambaye alikuwa anaishi maisha mabaya alipookoka maisha yake kabadilika, and that is what is motivating you to say, I want God, I want to become born again? My friend, if that is your reason, please, just, no, don't do it. You'll be disappointed. Don't do it. It doesn't mean that the blessings will not come, but suffering is also a part of the work. Challenges may come, and they will surely come, because Jesus himself said, in this world you'll face trials and tribulations. Christian life will not be soft life. It's not soft life at all. These tribulations and these trials are what will strengthen your faith. They are what will make sure that you can withstand whatever it is the devil is throwing at you. So these trials will be there. So if you're getting born again and thinking life will be no problem, please revisit that thing and ask God to help you so that you'll be doing it for the right reasons. Remember Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were about to be thrown into the fiery furnace. In fact, the place of fire was heated 7 times more, so that they will be consumed immediately. So much so that it consumed the people who are throwing them into the fire. And you know what they said? That will not bow down to this golden image of, I think, Nebuchadnezzar at the time. And even if God does not save us, we will still stick with our God. That's the attitude we need to have. That God, I am doing this so that, you've said in your word that you will bless me if I do this. But even if you don't, I will still bless you. Because sometimes God can test you to know if you're truly invested. Is your heart there? Are you doing it because of what you could gain? Or are you doing it because you know who God is? For me, I faced that test big time when I got born again, because I was jobless and I was heartbroken. Look at me thinking that now that I'm born again in January after the 21 days of fasting, I will have a husband and a job. My friend, that went for 5 months jobless. It happened. And later on, I came to realize that God wanted to test me. This girl, are you getting born again because of what I could give you? Are you getting born again because you know who I am and you've realized that you really need me? And if I did not mean it, it means that even when I got this job, I would not have continued to seek God. But even when I got the job, I continued, because I knew that it was not about the job all along. It was about having a relationship with God. I remember giving my testimony. Anyone from Seaton Parklands can attest to this. I gave my testimony and I said I have a testimony, even though I didn't have a job, even though things were not still working out. But I stood there and said that God has done it for me. And how he has done it for me is that he has allowed me to have a relationship with him. So it's not always about the money. It's not always about what you can get from your salvation. It's literally simply about you having a relationship with God. Now let's go to the next thing. Why do you want to get married? That's another question that we need to ponder on. Why do you want to get married? Is it because you are broken as a child and somehow you feel like getting married is going to fill a certain gap? Because that's not true. In marriage, you have to come in your own wholeness, so that the other whole, it's one and one joined together to bring another powerful one that has never been seen before. So you don't need a husband, you need counseling. Go for counseling. Make sure that God has dealt with those pains and those, inner gaps that are in your heart. Because for me, that's the same thing that happened. I'm not telling you anything that I've not experienced myself. Right now, my perspective of marriage has changed because I went for counseling and I knew what was bothering me the whole time. And now I'm satisfied. I mean, come husband, come not. I'm good. I'm good to go. As long as God needs me to be on this solo journey, I am ready for it. Because marriage is not going to fill any gap in your heart. If anything, you're going to complicate life for yourself and the man that or the woman God has blessed you with. And if you're a woman, do you want to get married for financial stability? Hey, Jesus, where do I even start? That is not true. It's a lie. you need to bring your own to the marriage, because there are times when that husband may lose his job. And if you got married for financial stability, it will be so painful because you'll not be able to stay in that marriage anymore. So let us check our motives. Why do we do what we do? The other thing is, why do you want that promotion? Do you understand that being a leader means you're going to serve more than you were when you were, just the normal workers? Do you know when you get to that higher position, you need to serve more than you're receiving the service? Look at Jesus washing the disciples' feet. He literally said that a servant is not greater than the master, meaning that even you'll have to do it. So if Jesus himself washed the feet of the disciples, that was literally the lowest job anyone could ever do. It's the lowest capacity of a job. In fact, it was given to the servant yule mwenye ako chini kwa cheo kabisa. So if you want that promotion, are you sure you're ready for the responsibility that comes with it, which is primarily serving? Are you ready for it? Okay? And remember in 1 Thessalonians 2:4, it says our purpose is to please God, because he alone examines our motives. Meaning we are not to please man. It's not about the people in our lives. It's not about pleasing people. It's pleasing God 100%. And even for our job here, sometimes I have to ask myself, what if I edit these videos and nobody comments? What if nobody likes? What if I post these videos and nobody even is interested? Will I give up? Will I stop doing it? Or will I ask myself, maybe it's just one person who needed this message and I'll be okay with it? Maybe the feedback coming in, we've just had a handful of comments coming in, even when we have millions and millions of listeners. But should that stop me from continuing with what I'm doing? It's something I had to ask my own self. Checking your motive, it's important. And as I conclude, I know this beautiful prayer that we know. David prayed this prayer about, Lord, search my heart and test my anxious thoughts. Test my thoughts. See if there's any evil way in me and lead me in the way everlasting. This is a prayer that we all need to pray. This is a prayer that needs to be at the beginning of every decision that we make, because even we ourselves may not know it when we are doing things for the wrong motives. But then if we ask God to check our motives, to check our hearts, to test our thoughts, then he can help us. Because David said, reveal, show me if there's any evil way in me and lead me in the way everlasting. It's such a beautiful verse. And I think this is in Psalm 139 that tells us that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, that God knows us. He knows everything. He knows everything about us. Even before we were formed in our mother's womb, when we were being made there in the womb of our mothers, God knew us. So he knows you, and he knows your deeper thoughts. He knows those secret desires. He knows everything. So go to him and tell him, Abba Father, I need you. Please test my motives so that everything I do will bring you glory. And that's today's bait. And I do hope that even as we have done this topic today about checking our motives, that this devotion has given you a sense of understanding and also a challenge to pray to God who created you to really help you to know, why do I do whatever it is that I do?
Today's bait on Anchored.